Hello again, thank you for stopping by. Today's tutorial is going to cover one part of spelling to hopefully improve your spelling skills, because English spelling is a very difficult art to master. It's very tricky, there's so many different strands to it. So as I post more and more videos on here, I'll be covering the different parts that can cause spelling problems. Today I'm going to cover one of those, and what it's about is about regular verbs, but about the past tense of regular verbs. So we have two types of verbs in English. We have regular verbs and irregular verbs. Irregular verbs don't follow any rules. You can't be taught it. You just have to learn it. Try and remember, learn the list. Try and remember the list. I've got a list of the most common ones, which I will be uploading onto my YouTube channel. I've only just started it, but I do plan to get it all on there. You'll be able to download it, and hopefully that will help you with the irregular verbs. But as far as regular verbs go, there is a pattern, and if you follow this tutorial carefully, it will hopefully help you with your spelling. Now, regular verbs in the past tense, they always end in the same letters. They always end with ed. Okay, always ed. But there's 4 ways in which they can get there. So I'm going to show you those 4 ways now. Okay. Number 1. The first way that you can get there is by simply adding ed. So let's take a verb like to walk. All I'm going to do is add ed onto the end of it, and that turns it into the past. Walked. Today I walk. Yesterday I walked. Got another one. Wait. Just add ed. Waited. Alright? So that's rule number 1. On a lot of verbs, probably most verbs, you can just add ed. Okay, that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, when a verb already ends with the letter e, a regular verb, like to live, I'm not going to add ed, I'm just going to add d. Okay, lived. Today I live in England. Last month I lived in France. Arrive. Okay, I arrived at 10 today. Last night I arrived at 9 p.m. That's rule number 2. Number 3, this is one of the tricky ones. Okay, this is one where you really need to make sure you study this carefully. When you have a verb that ends with the letter y, but before the y there's a consonant. For example, to study. Here we have the letter y at the end, and prior to the y it's got a consonant. What you do now to get to the past tense, the pronunciation is studied, but you take away the y, make it I, and then put ed. Okay? Cry becomes cried. Fried becomes fried in the same way. But as you can see from all these 3, I've shown you 3 different ways, but they still all end with ed. That's what I mentioned before. Always end with ed. Okay? So that's 3 ways. The 4th way is another way in which people do make spelling mistakes. Again, it's something you do need to concentrate on and try and remember. Okay? The 4th way is when we have a verb in English, which is what we call as a CVC verb, like for example, stop. We call it a CVC word, CVC. And that means it ends, the last 3 letters are consonant, vowel, consonant. What you do now before you get to the ed is you're going to double that last consonant. So you double the P and you make it ed. Stop becomes stop. Step, again, you can see CVC, you double the P and it becomes ed. Alright, so that's we call it the double the consonant rule. Again, you've got ed. So all 4 ways, they always end with ed. Now there's a few things to let you know about this, the rule number 4, okay? Although we do double the last consonant in a CVC, there are some letters in English which we never double. We never double. we never double X. We never double Y. We never double W. And we never double H. So where you have verbs that end in these letters, but they're a CVC verb, you wouldn't double that last one. For example, to mix. To mix some food, to mix some cement. Again, you have CVC, but because we never double the X, you just have ED. Okay? Another one which sort of straddles two of these rules is this one. A verb like that, to play. As you can see, it's got the Y on the end, which this one is associated with. It's also got CVC, okay, which this one is associated with. But when the vowel is before the Y, you don't follow this rule, because it's only when you have a consonant. And because we never double the Y, you don't follow this rule. You just put ED on the end. Okay? So those are the four ways in which you can get to ED. Be very careful with this doubling the consonant rule. You only do it where you have one vowel before the end. Don't do it for a verb like this. To cool. Something's hot, you want to cool it down. This one isn't a CVC word because it's got two vowels before the consonant. So now there's no doubling, we're just putting ED on the end. Okay, cool. So past tense of regular verbs always end with ED, okay, but the four ways that you get there. With regards to rule number 4, this is always the case in small English verbs. By that I mean one syllable verbs. Once English becomes two syllables or more English words, it does start to become a bit tricky, because now stress in the word comes into play. In English, we stress words in different parts for different words. Only if we stress the final syllable do you double that last consonant if it's a CVC word. But we don't always do that. So for example, look at this one. To visit someone. If you listen to how I'm saying it, I'm stressing the first syllable, not the second. Visit. Visit. I'm not saying visit. I'm saying visit. Because I'm stressing that first syllable, I'm not going to double the consonant. I'm just going to put ED. But if I give you another verb, refer, you can refer to someone when you're talking about them, or you can refer people on to people. So you can be referred on to a doctor or to a specialist, okay? Now listen to how I'm saying that one. Refer. Refer. You can clearly hear that I'm now stressing the second syllable, the last syllable, okay? And that means now I am going to double that consonant. So I'm going to double R and then ED, okay? So again, like I said, more than one syllable, stress is a very important factor. But there's one letter, the letter L, however big our word is, however many syllables it's got, if the last three letters are CVC and the last one is an L, we'll always double that. In British English, not in American English. In American English, they don't double it. So I'll give you a couple of examples. You've got travel. You've got cancel. As you can see, they're both CVC words and they end with L. I'm always going to double this, however big the word is. So travel becomes travelled, double L, and cancel becomes cancelled, double L. Yeah? So when the last letter is L, you'll double it in British English. American English don't. Okay? So there you go, 4 rules to get to ED. I hope that's helped with a little bit of your spelling. It certainly will. If you remember this and you follow these rules, it'll certainly help one part of your spelling. Join me for another tutorial when I'll be now focusing on the same verbs in the past tense, regular verbs, because now I'll be showing you about pronunciation. Even though they all end with ED, you don't pronounce all of them the same way. So my next tutorial will teach you how to pronounce them. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please tell your friends about it. Please subscribe to my channel. It's absolutely free, and I hope to keep it free completely. All that's left to say is over and out. I'll see you next time.